This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, March 22nd, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Racing through thousands of pages to avoid a potential government shutdown.
This is what Washington has devolved into.
I'm Clayton Neville.
A massive manhunt in Idaho has ended with 2 escaped inmates back in custody.
We are investigating 2 homicides at separate locations.
I'm Pamela Furr.
How the RNC plans to use donations to pay for a candidate's legal bills, and a New Jersey senator won't run in the primary but has November election plans. We'll have those stories.
Stocks open at record highs again this morning. It's the second day in a row for the Dow, the S&P 500 index, and the NASDAQ. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
It appears New York is preparing to seize Donald Trump's property.
For the first time, surgeons have transplanted a gene-edited pig kidney into a human patient. I'm Ed Donahue.
All ahead on America in the Morning. The clock is ticking as lawmakers rush to consider legislation that would avoid a potential government shutdown. As correspondent Clayton Neville reports, conservatives are irate over both the spending and a fast-tracked vote within 24 hours.
Some Republican lawmakers in Washington aren't happy as they comb through 1,000 pages received about 48 hours ahead of a vote that could prevent the government from shutting down. Typically, the rule is 72 hours to read bills before voting. That would be 3 o'clock Sunday morning, but the deadline arrives when we hit midnight tonight. Senator Ron Johnson.
This is completely dysfunctional, but it's a well-honed process that has been plundering and mortgaging our children's future. This is what Washington has devolved into.
The $1.2 trillion package is being backed by Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, who's touting the legislation as a serious commitment to strengthening national defense. $90 billion set aside for the Department of Homeland Security and nearly $20 billion on border protection. Speaker Johnson says that includes things like hiring more Border Patrol agents and more beds at detention facilities.
You have to have the infrastructure in place to do that, and so increasing ICE beds was a big priority of ours.
Some Republicans discouraged the House Speaker, agreed to move forward on the bill with Democrats. Congressman Warren Davidson told CNN he thought the Speaker got rolled, which he believes could impact his role in the House.
I mean, I don't think near term probably, but, the question is next Congress, who's going to be the right person to be Speaker? And I think this will factor into it.
Senator Tommy Tuberville.
It's a disaster, but since I've been up here, it's been that way. It always comes down to the last minute. Everything's pushed in.
And CNN asked Republican John Thune about the frustration some have.
I'm frustrated, too. There's a better way to do this. We should have been doing appropriation bills a long time ago.
As far as the time crunch on a vote, the House Speaker will need strong Democratic support to get the bill through. And in the Senate, political experts believe the legislation would need 100% support to pass before the deadline. Any delays could end those chances. I'm Clayton Neville.
More is being learned about the Idaho hospital shootout this week that led to a prison break and a 2-day multi-state manhunt. Pamela Furr reports that authorities captured the escaped prisoner and his alleged accomplice. Audio courtesy of KIVI-TV Boise.
This afternoon, following a lengthy investigation, the 2 suspects who we have been seeking were located in Twin Falls, in the Twin Falls area. There was a short vehicle pursuit, and both suspects were taken into custody separately. There were no shots fired or extensive use of force in this operation, for which we are thankful. Skylar Mead and Nicholas Umfenauer are in custody.
That's Boise Police Chief Ron Winiger telling reporters they were found in Twin Falls, about 130 miles southeast of Boise. Police say Meade, who is a member of a white supremacist prison gang, deliberately injured himself enough to have to go to the hospital. When he was about to be taken back to prison, Umfenauer opened fire, shooting 2 officers. They remain hospitalized. Idaho Department of Correction Director Josh Tewalt confirmed both men were members of the same gang known as the Aryan Knights.
They were both housed at the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, and there was frequent movement in between, but there were times within that time frame where they shared, they were in the same housing unit.
Meanwhile, Idaho State Police Lieutenant Colonel Sheldon Kelly telling reporters,
We are investigating 2 homicides at separate locations in Nez Perce and Clearwater counties. These are potentially tied to this incident. Both homicides involve adult males, and detectives are actively investigating. No further information on the homicides is available at this time, and the county coroner will provide identity as well as the official cause of death.
Kelly says at one of the murder scenes, Meade's shackles were found, indicating that he was at least involved in that murder. The two were also found driving a Honda Civic that belonged to one of the victims when they were captured by police. I'm Pamela Furr.
Campaign fundraising to pay for candidates' legal bills, and U.S. senators scheme amid corruption charges. Those stories when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy has the Friday National Weather Outlook.
The latest storm to move through the plains, known as an Alberta Clipper, will continue eastward through the Great Lakes today and then shift into the northeast late today and tonight. This will produce a light to moderate snow through portions of Wisconsin and northern Illinois this morning with some slippery travel for the morning commute. Then continue much of the day through Michigan with snow arriving late in the day in western New York. Some areas through central Michigan will see 6 inches of snow. Meanwhile, a storm in the southeast will continue to spread rain and thunderstorms through the Gulf Coast states and even as far north into Tennessee and Kentucky, eastward to North Carolina and Virginia. Some of the rain will be very heavy, especially across southern Florida this afternoon. This rain will quickly build northward tonight and continue heavily through the mid-Atlantic and northeast on Saturday with heavy snow in New England. Some places will see more than 3 inches of rain with snow in northern New England mountains topping 2 feet. In the west, we're seeing another storm impact the region. This is going to continue to spread rain along the coast from Washington to California. Some rain and snow will also break out into northern Idaho into Montana. The snow will continue to build in Montana into North Dakota tonight with a few inches on the ground by tomorrow morning. The rain will also expand farther south in central California and more so into this weekend. Showers will expand eastward into southern Idaho and northern Nevada late tonight. In between the two systems in the Plains states, it'll be a more tranquil period of weather with the return of some sunshine. That's the weather across America. Atlanta, Georgia will have a cloudy, cool day with periods of rain and a high of 61. Colorado Springs, Colorado is looking at a drier day with sunshine and a high of 59. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. A plan between the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee will allow the former president's fundraising to also focus on his growing legal bills. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
Donald Trump's new joint fundraising agreement with the Republican National Committee directs donations to his campaign and a political action committee that pays his legal bills before the RNC gets a cut. The diversion makes it more likely that Republican donors could see their money go to Trump's lawyers. They've already received at least $76 million over the last 2 years to defend him against 4 felony indictments and multiple civil cases. Trump has invited high-dollar donors to Palm Beach, Florida, for an April 6 fundraiser. I'm Norman Hall.
According to the Federal Election Commission, President Biden's re-election campaign raised over $21 million last month, nearly doubling the just under $11 million garnered by the Trump campaign. Embattled Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey says he will not run in the Democratic primary as he faces federal corruption charges. Lisa Dwyer reports he could mount a campaign against another Democrat in the fall.
While Menendez takes himself out of the primary, he is still leaving open the possibility that he would re-enter the race as an independent later this year if he is exonerated at trial.
I will not file for the Democratic primary this June. I am hopeful that my exoneration will take place this summer and allow me to pursue my candidacy as an independent Democrat in the general election.
The decision comes as Menendez fights federal bribery charges along with his wife Nadine and 3 business associates. Menendez and his wife are charged with taking bribes of gold bars, cash, and a Mercedes-Benz. Prosecutors say that Menendez helped one of the men get a lucrative meat certification deal with Egypt and helped another associate get a deal with a Qatari investment fund.
Many of you are hurt and disappointed in me with the accusations I'm facing. Believe me, I am disappointed at the false accusations as well. All I can ask of you is to withhold judgment until justice takes place.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Home prices reach a new milestone when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Insurer State Farm says they will not renew approximately 72,000 property and commercial apartment policies, citing fire and earthquake damage risk. The San Francisco Chronicle reports that the insurance company stopped writing new homeowners policies in the Golden State last year and raised rates by an average of 20% for existing customers. Due to the number of hurricanes that hit Florida in recent years, insurers there also either decided to not renew policies or sharply increase rates. MarketWatch says Floridians now pay auto insurance rates that are 121% higher than the national average. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Friday Business.
Wall Street opens this morning after a triple record-setting day yesterday, the second in a row. The three major averages all at fresh record highs. The Dow, the S&P 500 index, and the NASDAQ. It was the Dow that soared up 269 points yesterday. Apple shares going the other way. They were down 4% when it was slapped with a sweeping antitrust lawsuit by the Department of Justice and 16 states over what they call the iPhone monopoly, making it harder for consumers to go outside the Apple bubble.
Apple's share of the U.S. performance smartphone market exceeds 70%. Apple charges as much as nearly $1,600 for an iPhone. But as our complaint alleges, Apple has maintained monopoly power in the smartphone market not simply by staying ahead of the competition on the merits, but by violating federal antitrust law.
Attorney General Merrick Garland. Here's CNBC's Steve Kovac.
This lawsuit basically making the argument that by keeping iMessage sort of exclusive and degrading maybe the regular text message experience, that is anti-competitive. They use an example of what if you buy your kids an Android phone and you can't really talk to them as seamlessly as you could if you bought them an iPhone and things like that.
Apple is out with a statement saying the lawsuit threatens who we are and the principles that set Apple's products apart. It will fight the lawsuit. Watch Reddit shares today. They debuted on Wall Street yesterday, priced at $34, opening at $47, closing at $50.44. The 19-year-old company has yet to turn a profit. Fewer people applied for unemployment benefits last week than the week before as the job market remains solid.
And the numbers for February home sales are in.
Yeah, existing home sales last month popped up from January and set a new record high for home prices for the month.
The median price, an all-time high for February, $384,500. 20% of homes sold over list price. Now, important to note, these sales are based on closings, so contracts that were likely signed in December and January, and that's when the 30-year fixed rate dropped to the mid-6% range. Of course, now we're back over 7%. The realtors are saying that this is buyers perhaps getting used to a new normal for mortgage rates, but they'd like to see the next report when we're looking at sales in the 7% mortgage rate range.
CNBC's Diana Olick. On today's watch list, no big earnings reports or economic data today. 1 week from today is Good Friday. That's a market holiday. New in theaters, Disney's animated Luca, Neon's horror movie Immaculate, and Sony's Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Tonight's Mega Millions jackpot, at least $977 million.
All right, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, kidney surgery, a medical first, after these messages. America in the Morning's back. The New York Attorney General's office has filed judgments in Westchester County, the first indication that the state is preparing to try and seize assets belonging to Donald Trump. The move by Letitia James comes as the former president has until Monday to secure a $464 million bond as he appeals the decision in his civil fraud trial against the Trump Organization. While no specific property was named, the Trump National Golf Club and a 212-acre Seven Springs estate are located in Westchester, just north of New York City. If he can't produce the bond in time, the state could either freeze his bank accounts or seize property as collateral. In a surgical first, doctors have performed a transplant of a genetically modified kidney from a pig into a living human. Ed Donahue has the story.
It happened at Boston's Massachusetts General Hospital.
It was truly the most beautiful kidney I have ever seen.
The patient is 62-year-old Rick Slayman. He's said to be recovering well. The surgeon was Dr. Tatsuo Kawai.
Upon restoration of blood flow into the kidney picked up immediately and started to make urine.
And the reaction?
Everyone in the operating room burst in applause.
Mass General's Dr. Leonardo Riala is optimistic about the future.
Our hope is that dialysis will become obsolete. More than 100,000 patients are on our waiting list in the U.S., but only about 20,000 kidney transplants are available yearly. Every week, we have to remove patients from the waiting list because they become too sick to get a transplant while on dialysis.
Doctors believe the pig kidney will work for at least 2 years. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Friday, March 22nd, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour,
the world working toward resolution in the Middle East. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Justice Department is suing Apple. Saga Magani, Washington.
Governor Gavin Newsom says the narrow passage of Prop 1 is a huge victory. I'm Sue Aller.
Sales of existing homes were up 9.5% last month from January. I'm Rita Foley.
Russia fires missiles at Kyiv. We'll have the outcome.
A small town in Maryland suspended its entire police force, and residents don't know why. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The latest installment in the Ghostbusters franchise hits the screens this weekend. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Thanks for listening. A check of the national forecast with AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy. And we start in the west, where a storm is shaping up.
In the west, we're seeing another storm impact the region. There is going to be some rain along the coast from Washington to California, and some rain and snow will also break out in northern Idaho into Montana. That snow will continue to build eastward across Montana into North Dakota tonight, with a few inches on the ground by tomorrow morning. The rain will also expand farther south into central California tonight, and then more so into southern California this weekend. Showers will also expand eastward tonight into parts of southern Idaho and northern Nevada. In the plains, a storm known as an Alberta Clipper will continue eastward through the Great Lakes today and then shift into the northeast late today and tonight. This will spread light to moderate snow through portions of Wisconsin and northern Illinois this morning. There will be some slippery travel for the morning commute, and then continue much of the day through Michigan with snow arriving late in western New York. Some areas in central Michigan will see 6 inches of snow. Meanwhile, the storm in the southeast will continue to spread rain and thunderstorms through the Gulf Coast states, even as far north as Tennessee and Kentucky, and then eastward to North Carolina and Virginia. Some of the rain will be very heavy, especially across southern Florida this afternoon. This rain will quickly build northward tonight and continue heavily through the mid-Atlantic and northeast on Saturday, with heavy snow in New England. Some places will see more than 3 inches of rain, with snow in the northern New England mountains topping 2 feet. In between the two systems across the plain states, there will be more tranquil weather. There will be a return of sunshine for many areas from the Dakotas and Minnesota southward through Texas. This dry weather will also expand into the southeast, where abundant sunshine will be prevalent. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. As war rages between Israel and Hamas, the United States is in continued discussions with leaders in Egypt. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest on American involvement in the Middle East.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken holding discussions this week with Egypt's foreign minister. He called those talks aimed at improving the relationship between Israel and Egypt productive.
There's an agreement, as you heard from Minister Shukri, on the urgent need to surge and sustain humanitarian assistance for the people of Gaza. Children should not be dying of malnutrition in Gaza or anywhere else for that matter.
This as Israel continues its retaliation on Hamas for the deadly October 7th attacks. Humanitarian aid, very much a necessity in Gaza.
100% of the population of Gaza is experiencing severe levels of acute food insecurity. We must not allow that to continue.
Negotiations surrounding a potential temporary ceasefire are ongoing as the world looks for ways to get more aid into Gaza.
The ceasefire that we're working on would be the best, most immediate way to enable us to surge humanitarian assistance, but it's not the only way. Regardless, we have to be doing that. We've seen some improvement over the last couple of weeks in getting humanitarian assistance to Palestinians, but it's not enough. And as I said, we need to really surge and sustain.
Before the October attacks, leaders in Saudi Arabia, Israel, and other countries were in talks to improve regional partnerships. Now, as Gaza flirts with famine, those discussions are picking up steam again after being on hold in the midst of war. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Justice Department has filed an antitrust case against Apple, accusing the tech giant of maintaining an illegal monopoly over the smartphone market. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
The sweeping antitrust suit accuses the world's most prosperous company of boxing out competitors and stifling innovation.
We allege that Apple is violating the law by conditionally restricting developers' access to the interface, which is needed to make an app functional on the Apple operating system. For a product like a smartwatch or a digital wallet to be useful to an iPhone user, it must be able to communicate with the iPhone's operating system. But Apple creates barriers that make it extremely difficult and expensive for both users and developers to venture outside the Apple ecosystem.
The suit specifically looks to stop Apple from undermining technologies that compete with its own apps.
Apple actively encourages banks, merchants, and other parties to participate in Apple Wallet, but it simultaneously exerts its monopoly power to block these same partners from developing alternative payment products and services for iPhone users.
A practice Attorney General Merrick Garland says allows Apple to maintain its monopoly.
Not because of its superiority, because of its unlawful exclusionary behavior.
And if left unchecked, the monopoly will continue.
If left unchallenged, Apple will only continue to strengthen its smartphone monopoly. But there's a law for that. The Justice Department will vigorously enforce antitrust law.
It's the latest example of an aggressive Justice Department bid to enforce antitrust law, even though it's lost some significant anti-competition cases. Apple says the suit is wrong on the facts and the law and promises a vigorous defense. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A statewide ballot measure aimed at overhauling California's mental health care system, primarily through the issuance of over $6 billion in bonds, has been approved by a very close margin. Sue Aller has details.
The results are in. It took 2 weeks, and by a very narrow margin, the voters of California passed Proposition 1. Governor Gavin Newsom says the road to pass this bond has been a long one.
And so we're here to modernize the Mental Health Services Act. We're here to modernize our thinking. We're here today celebrating this journey.
The goal of Prop 1 is to address the state's homeless crisis and improve mental health services by allocating more than $6 billion. The money will be used to create housing units and treatment beds. It is estimated that more than 11,000 people will benefit from these resources, including veterans. Los Angeles County Supervisor Hilda Solis says this passage will be a major help to the people of her county.
We know that this measure, Prop 1, is going to help us do some remarkable things, help to expand that safety net, but also provide case management to those people that are in crisis and suffering now.
The bond redirects tax revenue on a county level to the state for mental health, drug, and alcohol treatment. Counties will be required to spend around 2/3 of the funds on housing and homeless outreach programs.
And what I would say about Proposition 1 is you will be proud. That's exactly what this initiative brings. Fundamental reforms. It requires now, for the first time in states' history, that counties have one single plan.
Opponents of this proposition say it will add to California's existing debt. I'm Sue Aller.
When we return on America in the Morning, demanding answers from Boeing, town suspends entire police department. And NCAA hoops. Just a few of the stories we'll bring you after these messages. I'm John Trout here with America in the Morning. The heads of leading U.S. airlines want to meet with Boeing and are demanding answers after a series of issues that included a door panel coming off mid-flight and a tire falling to the ground on takeoff. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
Discussions are said to be taking place for setting up a meeting likely next week. The executives of the major U.S. airlines have requested explanations of Boeing's plans for fixing the quality control problems found after some high-profile incidents. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Those mishaps include the door panel blowing off an Alaska Airlines jet mid-flight in January. Airline CEOs have been public in criticizing Boeing's manufacturing problems, which have slowed deliveries of planes the airlines were counting on. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Encouraging news in the housing market. Correspondent Rita Foley has details.
Sales of existing homes were up 9.5% last month from January. Almost 4.5 million homes sold, according to the National Association of Realtors. That is the strongest sales pace since February of last year, and more than economists were expecting. That good news helped to push up home prices compared with a year earlier for the 8th month in a row. The typical sales price of a home is now more than $384,000. The supply of homes on the market is still below the historical average, but the increase in homes for sale that usually happens ahead of the spring home buying season is giving home buyers a wider selection of properties to choose from. I'm Rita Foley.
Overseas, Russia fires 31 missiles at the capital city of Kyiv in its first major attack against Ukraine in weeks. Correspondent Karen Shamas reports that thanks to American-made missile defense systems, the Ukrainian military intercepted all of them.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged the country's Western partners to send more air defense systems to help Ukraine defend itself against Russian airstrikes. In an address to the nation, Zelensky said areas such as Kharkiv and Sumy need air defense systems. He added, "Partners have these protection systems, and partners need to understand that air defense must protect life."
If there is enough support for Ukraine, it will show Putin's bodies that there will be enough support, even if this insane person orders the expansion of aggression to other European countries.
Zelensky said Russia doesn't have missiles that can evade US-made Patriots and other advanced air defense weapons. European Union leaders were considering new ways to help boost arms and ammunition production for Ukraine at a summit in Brussels. I'm Karen Shamas.
Embattled Michigan attorney Stephanie Lambert has turned herself in following the arrest in a case involving the 2020 election. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
An attorney who unsuccessfully sued to overturn former President Donald Trump's 2020 loss in Michigan has been released from jail after appearing in a Michigan court on an outstanding bench warrant. Stephanie Lambert is facing felony charges of improperly accessing voting equipment. The warrant was issued after she failed to appear for a March 7th hearing about her refusal to comply with a fingerprint and DNA order. Prosecutor Timothy Mott says Lambert is to blame for her arrest.
It's her two failure to appears that have caused this case to come to a screeching halt.
The defense blames a breakdown in communication with Lambert's former lawyer. Lambert posted a $10,000 cash bond. I'm Norman Hall.
It wasn't just a single police officer who got in trouble. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on the mysterious suspension of an entire police department of a small Maryland town.
Ridgely, Maryland, on the state's eastern shore, has suspended its entire police force as they wait for the results of an investigation by the state's prosecutors. Residents are not just confused and shocked, but they're concerned about response times if they need assistance. Ridgely officials said they've made arrangements with the nearby Caroline County Sheriff's Office to respond to calls for service within the town's boundaries for now. Several years ago, the department made national headlines when its then chief was involved in the 2018 death of Anton Black in the neighboring town of Greensboro. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Human-computer interface has allowed a man with a chip implanted in his brain to play chess using only his mind. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
The first ever brain chip implant allowing a human to control the computer has given the user the ability to play online chess and fully control the computer cursor. 29-year-old Norland Arbaugh, a man who suffered a debilitating car injury making him a quadriplegic, said he dislocated 2 of his vertebrae in a freak driving accident 8 years ago. On a live stream posted on X yesterday, he was shown under the caption, Neuralink demonstrating telepathy, controlling a computer and playing video games just by thinking. According to the website clinicaltrials.gov, there are over 40 brain-computer interface trials being tested and currently underway. The Neuralink device is about the size of a large coin and is designed to be implanted in the skull with ultra-thin wires going directly into the brain. Mr. Arbaugh went on to say, I love playing chess, so this is one of the things y'all have enabled me to do, something I wasn't able to really do much in the last few years. Leave a comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Chips. They're not just for dipping anymore. A check of Friday sports. Here's Robert Workman on America in the Morning.
NCAA basketball tournament first round play on Thursday. Most of the top seeds had an easy time of it. West number 1, North Carolina, as well as 2 seeds, Arizona, Iowa State, and Tennessee, all won handily. The highest seed to fall, South number 3, Kentucky, upset by Horizon League champ Oakland. Jack Golke hit 10 3-pointers for the Golden Grizzlies. That's one off the tournament record. Midwest 4 seed Kansas got a scare from Samford last night, but held on to win. 3 6 seeds lost to 11 seeds. Duquesne knocked off BYU, the Duke's first tournament win since 1969. NC State ripped Texas Tech, and Oregon slashed South Carolina. Former Gamecock Jermaine Couisnard had 40 for the Ducks.
It was just me just being competitive. I know those guys have a great team over there. Coach Lamar did a wonderful job this year, and it was just me just showing my will, just trying to compete to win.
16 more first-round contests today. Baseball, the Padres outslugged the Dodgers 15-11 to earn a split of their season-opening series in South Korea. They scored 5 times in the first inning off Yoshinobu Yamamoto, LA's other big signing over the winter, but still needed a 3-run blast from Manny Machado in the 9th to put it away. The top free agent slugger still out there, JD Martinez, has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Mets. He hit 33 dingers for the Dodgers last year. Soccer, the U.S. men pulled out a crazy 3-1 win in extra time over Jamaica in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinals. After giving up a goal in the game's first minute, the U.S. only managed to tie it on an own goal in the final seconds of stoppage time. Then got a brace from Haji Wright in extra time to advance to play Mexico on Sunday night for the trophy. NBA wins for the Nuggets, Mavericks, Wizards, Rockets, Bucks, Magic, and Suns. NHL Rangers battered the Bruins. Artemi Panarin with a hat trick. New York now just 1 point behind Boston for the best record in the league. That's Friday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, proton packs and ghost traps. After these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. Another new movie coming out this weekend, and likely to everyone the name very familiar. Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire.
After a successful reboot 3 years ago, the Ghostbusters are back.
They called themselves Ghostbusters. According to these hacks, they saved the world.
This film follows the new team trying to revitalize the ghostbusting business in New York City. But when an ancient evil breaks loose and threatens to freeze the world, the new and old Ghostbusters answer the call.
The parables tell of an unimaginable evil commanding an army of ghosts.
If Ghostbusters Afterlife was a tribute to the 1984 original, Frozen Empire feels more like a homage to 1989's Ghostbusters 2. It suffers from similar setup and narrative problems, trying to offer a fresh take on once quirky characters from a previous film.
You the weird guy who buys strange old things?
Correct on both counts.
There are some fun moments, and there's definitely ghosts getting busted throughout the movie. But too much of the plot relies on ignoring things that happened in the original. I mean, does nobody remember the Twinkie discussion?
According to this morning's sample, it would be a Twinkie 35 feet long, weighing approximately 600 pounds.
That's a big Twinkie.
The nostalgia elements work to a degree, but sometimes feel sidelined.
Can I be of any help?
While some of the new characters feel more at home in the failed 2016 reboot.
I think we're all going to die.
Still, it'll do for a throwback mainstream comedy you can take the kids to. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire gets 3 proton packs out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
It was a star-studded night as Elton John and Bernie Taupin received the Gershwin Prize from the Library of Congress in Washington. Correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports. Audio courtesy PBS.
That's Metallica doing Funeral for a Friend at the PBS and Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for Popular Song Tribute to Elton John and Bernie Taupin. Maren Morris, Charlie Puth, Annie Lennox, and Garth Brooks also were among the performers. John says he loves Taupin so much.
I love what he's become, how happy he is. I love what I've become and how happy I am. We've both been through hell, and we've come through the other side, and it feels good.
And Taupin says he loves America so much.
Pretty much everything that I've written emanates from this country. Whether it's the heartland, whether it's the urban jungle, it's all been a palette for everything I've written.
The concert will premiere on PBS on April 8th. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
That's our show for today. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.